Welcome into the Jazz Notes podcast. Ben Anderson, David James, recording this on Thursday, January 29th.
Yes, we are.
Slightly abbreviated from our typical Monday show, which is longer, and even a lot of our Thursday shows have been longer, but we do have to address
two things.
Okay, two things.
Number one, a lick of defense. Not a lot of defense. A lick. Could you move from number 30 to number 29?
No.
28?
No.
We're going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
31?
Yeah.
In a 30-team league.
Yeah. How are the Stars doing?
I was horrified watching the Warrior game again. You can't stand straight-legged on the weak side and turn your back to your man and stare at the ball because your man might sprint to the hoop and get a layup or a dunk. Ben, I only played high school basketball because I played for a bad team in an era that the basketball is much worse there in San Diego than that it is now.
Yeah.
And we weren't any good. But I knew that if you don't see your ball, see your man and the ball at the same time, bad things happen. If you stare at your man, they throw the pass past your ear. 140 points. They've given up 150 once. They've given up 147 other times and 130, I think 9 other times. I think that's 17 games of 130 or more. Walker Kessler can fix a lot of that, but Ben, stuff's got to change.
They have the worst defensive rating in the NBA in the month of January by over 3 points, which is massive. Defensive rating, every point is somewhat critical. To give you a sense of how big the gap is, I mean, 3 points between the Jazz and Brooklyn, who are 29th. There is a 21-point gap between the Jazz and the Detroit Pistons, who have the best. 21 points.
And there are nuances to NBA defense, right? You're picking your poison. You're playing percentages because NBA players can make almost any shot 1 or 2 times, no matter how well defended, out of 10. So you're just trying to play the odds. There were guys running around wide open. My gosh, just wide open.
And you know, the way Golden State plays with the ball flying around is difficult, and they were good last night. But, yes, the Jazz's defense is terrible. And also all the back cuts, which is how Will Hardy kind of opened up his press conference talking about all the back cuts. You would think playing on a team with Yusuf Nurkic, where your entire offense is based around back cutting right now.
You would understand how to defend
you would understand
that at
that
some level.
If I do this, they're going to do the same thing, and I know what my guy defending me can do to take it away.
And at some point they've practiced. So
against
that Yusuf can do what he does.
Yeah.
And when they're practicing offense, 5 guys have to be practicing defensively. But it didn't really seem to matter who was on the court. There were constantly problems.
And you know what? I mean, and this has been the case for a long time, but the number of guys who can't figure out the switching scheme, and maybe it's an issue with the scheme. I do think it's player talent, though, a lot of it. Leading to wide open threes above the break, which, you know, breaks above the break threes are difficult shots.
Harder.
But catch and shoot threes are still good shots, especially if they're wide open. It doesn't matter where it is on the floor. The number of guys who a guy catches the ball and has 2.5 seconds to shoot, which is an eternity, before some Jazz player who's got a foot in the paint, Bryce Sensabaugh, Isaiah Collier, whoever, Kyle Filipowski, whoever it is, decides, oh, I think that's my switch. It's like, well,
too late.
If you've thought, oh, I think that's my switch, you can't make the switch.
Too late.
Yeah.
Somebody's wide open. Although right at the start of the game, Draymond and I forget who, somebody got confused and gave up. It might have been Ace, an easy dunk right down the middle. I think it just goes to focus.
It happens.
Like the Warriors came out on the court and like they know we're going to win this
game. But once
game.
it happens to you once, shouldn't you recognize, oh, I can't do that again? But it happens
you'd
over
like to think.
and
You'd like
over
to think.
and over again.
The level of the Jazz aren't playing intense regular season games, and then playoffs are another level.
Yeah.
And like some of these guys who are good offensively cannot play in the playoffs the way they play now. Like can't play.
Yeah, truly.
And furthermore, not only does the coach know it, the GM knows it. I think the owner knows it. I don't think they have to talk about it in a meeting. Like if you want to get traded, just keep doing what you're doing because they want to win big in the playoffs, and you can't possibly win big playing like that.
I think
so if they can't correct basic stuff after 2 or 3 years, they got to move these guys.
Along those lines, and segueing into our second and the most major topic, is that, yes, I think there is less of this roster. Fewer players on this roster will be here when the Jazz are competitive than probably a lot of people think.
Yep, I can believe that.
You are sorting through a wide swath of players to find the 4 to build the next 4 with the next 8.
I'd take the under.
You think it's less than 4 players?
The next time they win a playoff series, I think the number will be under 4.
Lowry?
Certainly in the rotation.
Okay, I'm going to go Lowry, Ace, Keontae are here. That's 3. And then, yes, the question is, do you have 4?
That's 4.
I'm not sure
Okay,
Kessler's
so here's the
here.
reason. I think those 4 guys are good enough players that they can,
I'm with you.
They can play a lot of minutes to play on a team that wins a playoff series.
I agree.
Okay? However, ultimately, as you make deals, you got to give somebody up even if you like them. You got to give something up to get something back. And that's why I would take the under on 4, even though I can identify 4 players.
Sure. Yeah, and we'll see. Maybe Cody Williams is around or whatever. One of these young guys sticks around.
It's hard to know.
But yeah, 4 is probably right about the right number, where I think if you were to ask a lot of people, they might say, I don't know, 7.5, 8. It's probably way lower than that.
Way lower.
All right, but let's talk about what we're here for.
And let's talk about trades that might or might not happen and could or couldn't happen or should or shouldn't happen.
I will pour water on this fire really quickly. I don't think Giannis is getting traded in season, but that's what we want to talk about, Giannis Antetokounmpo getting traded.
It seems more likely than ever, but
he is going to get traded.
It's more likely than ever that he's going to get traded. I think a lot of people have assumed that, thought that, maybe even known that for 2 or 3 years. This has been talked about. It just seems more possible now, more likely. We're getting closer to that date. But I'm with you. If I had to pick before the trade deadline or over the summer, I would pick over the summer. More teams will have more cap room. Once the draft order is known, then you're dealing more specific assets instead of Milwaukee makes a trade now. Who knows? They might have just traded for the number 1 pick. They might have traded for the number 6 pick. I don't know.
Right, which can be a benefit for Milwaukee or can be a benefit for the team trading.
It's such a big deal. I think people want to deal with knowns.
There are other aspects of it as well, which is to get to $54 million, which is what Giannis makes, it's hard to do one-to-one trades. So you need to have extra space on your roster to be able to take players back. I don't know if Jazz fans realize this. The Jazz have a 15-man roster. Now, if they were getting Giannis, they would find a way to get rid of players if they had to.
Sure.
But the Jazz can't exceed that in a trade, meaning if the Jazz are taking 2 players back, 3 players back, they have to send out at least 3 players. Yeah. And then you also need to make you need to make sure that Milwaukee has room for that many players as well. In the offseason, you can carry 20 players. You can carry non-guaranteed spots.
Sort it out later. So
big contracts being moved are easier to done from a roster number standpoint in the offseason.
To me, we still haven't addressed the elephant in the room. But all these things are true. I just don't think they're the most important truth.
But then on draft night, you also unlock your furthest draft pick away from you because it becomes within 7 years.
Another year becomes eligible.
So all these teams that want to say, we want to give you all of our unprotected picks, but actually we can't go beyond 2031. But when we get to this offseason, we can actually go to 2032 or 2033.
Yeah.
That makes more sense for Milwaukee to maximize their cap or their asset haul in a trade by just waiting a few months as opposed to feeling like, I got to do something now, which is a really bad way to operate.
All those things are true. Those are all good points. So I love doing a podcast with you, Ben.
Yes.
Deep. You got a lot of stuff. You got a lot of... No, seriously. Don't roll your eyes at me. I'm being serious.
Well, I'm not on camera. It doesn't matter. You can roll my eyes at you. Yeah.
It demoralizes me.
Yeah.
I don't have the will to go on, Ben. To me, the most important thing here is Giannis isn't going to a 15-win team. Giannis is going to go to somebody within shouting distance of an NBA championship. And I can't imagine there's more than 10 teams in the league that he would consider. I don't think he considered that, and then I don't think a bunch of them are a good fit. So I think the field gets whittled down. I just don't think at any point Giannis is thinking, yeah, Utah, that'd be good. No. And he's coming up on free agency, so part of this deal has got to be, here's what we're going to give you. Are you going to sign it? And I assume what people are going to give him is everything. I guess the question is how many years are people going to give him?
Yeah.
At the big money.
Here's where that gets interesting because you're right. Giannis doesn't have interest in joining a 15-win team today.
Right.
Can the 15-win team do enough in the offseason to coax Giannis into signing an extension?
I know the answer to that question.
What's that?
I really hope so because I do radio shows and podcasts, and that would make for the most active. That's like Kyle Whittingham to Michigan. Everybody get off vacation and get on the radio now kind of moves to make that happen. Because you're talking about making, first off, either getting really lucky or really good or both in the draft.
Yeah.
To the level that everybody knows it, right? Giannis, like that guy's good. That guy's going to help. Giannis has got to be looking at like, what do the next 3 years look like?
Yes.
That's it. I mean, I would think that's his horizon. So what do the next 3 years look like? Because he's 31 now. He turns 32 in December. So we're talking an off-season trade. So he's looking at his playoffs where he's 32, 33, 34. To me, that's his window. So what do you do on draft day? Either getting somebody or trading that valuable pick to get somebody. There has to be a move that leads to the move.
Right. And
we have two blockbuster days / weeks of radio.
This is not apples to apples because the Clippers were actually pretty good. They traded Shea, who had shown very well in an All-Star or in a playoff series before he got traded to Oklahoma City. But remember, one of the big things that apparently coaxed Kawhi into joining the Los Angeles Clippers was that they said, you name your star you want to play with and we'll go get him. And he said, I want to play with Paul George. And they said, done. So they said, great. So while I don't think Giannis wants to join the 15-32 Utah Jazz, if the Jazz come out and say, well, Giannis, we are able to acquire you without totally emptying the coffers.
Who do you want to play with? And they give the right answer.
We have Keontae is still going to be here. Keontae would not be a part of a Giannis trade. You've got to sell a running mate for Giannis, and you have to include Lowry in a deal just to make the money work, most likely. Then you say, who do you want to play with? And we will figure out a way to get that player here, and we will empty the coffers to give you that player, because then we think we have Keontae George, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo, and we have that third guy, whoever you want, within reason. You're not going to get Wemby. You're not going to get Shea, but you're going to get a top 25-ish player. You pick, and we'll find a way to get them, and that's how we try and convince you to stay in Utah. I still think that's a very difficult thing to sell, considering that's the same pitch a lot of other teams are going to make in the NBA. The difficult thing is, for a lot of teams in the NBA, they don't have the ability to actually mean that. The Jazz do have the deep assets to go out there and make a lot of trades to build around Giannis quickly.
I heard you and Jake talking about this, and it's a short list of teams, and the teams that do have the assets are actually doing so well with such young teams. Why would they make their team older? It just shortens their championship window. Well, why would San Antonio or Oklahoma City do it? That's two teams. When you list who's got assets, who's got players or picks that Milwaukee would want, obviously Oklahoma City and San Antonio do. I just don't see the motivation for the Spurs and the Thunder. So
I see it for the Spurs because the Spurs have not won a championship, actually. I mean, I know they have historically.
Okay, I'll give you that I could see the Spurs being more interested than the Thunder. I just don't see either one of them being interested enough.
People are so stupid.
And this is why the Lakers, Warriors, and Knicks exist.
Where does Giannis rank as among the best players in the NBA? Worst case. At worst, he's the ex-best player in the NBA. Fifth?
Well,
Sixth?
I would drop him lower because the thing we haven't talked about, at 31 with the injuries he's had
a lot of calf injuries recently.
You're giving up all these assets for a 3-year window. Too many calf injuries, and I start thinking Achilles. It's been true too often. I am scared to death of Giannis. And when Giannis was at the height of his powers, MVP, championship, all on board. But there have been a lot of cracks in the foundation since then.
There have been.
There have been a lot of poor playoff performances. Yep. He has not wanted the ball with games and series on the line. He has played hot potato, unloaded it. He has lost 9 of the last 10 playoff games he played in. To me, it just feels like there's a lot of slippage.
I think the problem with that view, and you're talking about, you only have a 3-year window.
Yeah.
That's true of everybody in the NBA. That's true of the Thunder. That's true of the San Antonio Spurs.
The thing that shortens other people's windows is maybe it's true of the Thunder. How well do they draft going forward?
Well, okay.
They're going to have to trade some guys, but man, they got a lot of bites at the apple coming up.
They do, but a lot of teams historically have thought, well, we'll just draft our way into championship
and
contention.
The Warriors didn't, and that's why they are where they are now.
Yeah,
they didn't. They tried, but they didn't.
They didn't, right. They thought, James Wiseman's going to save us, or Jonathan Kuminga's going to save us. They hated those players.
I know.
This dual timeline thing that the Thunder can say, well, we've got our championship contender right now. We have a title. And then we've got all these future picks, and they're going to keep us afloat. They've done a miraculous job drafting. I promise you they haven't solved it. Nobody solves it. There are too many weird things. In fact, I think the groundwork's already been laid because they drafted Nikola Topic 2 years ago, and he ends up with cancer, and he can't play. And they draft Thomas Sorber this year with somebody else's lottery pick, and he breaks his foot, and he can't play. And all of a sudden, that year of development, which was supposed to put them into a spot to replace guys next year because you don't want to pay everybody, is gone.
Yeah.
You can't control that.
Cancer
Your
and broken
window
foot. Yeah, broken foot.
of 2 lottery picks, rookies, that you thought were going to keep you afloat disappeared. You've already lost that. Now, that doesn't mean their window closes because they do have Shea and they have J-Dub and they have Chet. But, what you're pretending teams can bet on, and I don't mean you.
No, I am too. You can say me.
Doesn't exist. So if you can get a window for 3 years with the 5th or 6th best player in the NBA, even if you account for injuries, fine, 12th best player in the NBA. When he's on the floor, he's the 2nd best player in the NBA. And you're teaming him with Shea, who is the best player in the NBA, or Wemby, who's a top 5 player. Your championship window is not just open, it's wide open.
Do you think Giannis can be the best player on the championship team at this point in his career?
Yes, I do.
Really?
Yes, I do.
I think that moment has passed.
I think there are 6 or 7 teams he could win a title with as their best player.
Who are they?
Now, the Knicks, the Spurs, I still think he's better than Wemby. I think he's better than Shea.
Who would the Spurs have to give up?
Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Dylan Harper, draft capital. So you still have Steph Castle, you have Victor Wembanyama, you have whoever. You know what I mean?
Giannis.
Beyond that, Giannis and Wemby. So it's pretty good team, and everyone wants to go play for you.
Yeah.
You know, because everyone wants to win a title, and you've got pretty flexible salary because Wemby's still not making the super max for 6 more years. So you've got some flexibility to do things, and you still have a bunch of draft picks. The Spurs should trade for him today.
Do you think they're going to?
They should. In fact, I would probably put them as the front runner, even though it sounds like, and Jake has said, and he's talked to people, that it sounds like maybe Wemby doesn't want Giannis to come in. But Wemby wouldn't want Giannis to come in because Giannis is better than Wemby, and he doesn't want to be replaced as the guy.
Okay. That just drives me nuts. He's getting into Kobe territory here.
If that's the case.
Kobe
if that's
had very
accurate.
few flaws.
Mm-hmm.
But my gosh, you're younger than Shaq, and this dude's going to eat himself out.
Very few on the floor. Yeah.
He's going to eat himself out of championship contention.
Mm-hmm.
But don't get jealous and go nuts now. Ride him for 3, which they did, or how about 4 or 5 or 6 championships. And when you're younger and in better shape, when he inevitably fades, then you can be the guy. Kobe, you're the only one with the runway to challenge Russell. And I don't think you'll get there because I think something will go wrong. But nonetheless, nobody else has got the runway. And you can definitely catch MJ at 6. It just drove me crazy that he couldn't see, I should throw Shaq alley-oops for a couple of years.
No question.
Well, still getting his 20 or 25.
Oh, go get 7 titles because you win 5 straight with Shaq. You win a couple after, and you say, "Hey, I got 7. MJ only had 6."
That's a pretty awesome thing to say out loud.
All right,
so that drives me nuts that Wemby would be thinking
if
like
that's
that.
the case.
Because Giannis would be like, Wemby, you got your whole career. So did Tim Duncan win with David Robinson? Yeah, twice.
Yeah.
Once when Robinson was really a factor. I think the second time he won with him, Robinson was really at the end and was.
But we talk about David Robinson in a different vein than we do Patrick Ewing and Karl Malone. Why?
Duncan went and got 3 more.
Well, but why? Yeah, he has 2 titles.
2 championships.
What does Karl not have? What does Patrick Ewing not have?
Well, I would say what Karl didn't have was Tim Duncan.
But exactly
like
right.
If you give him Tim Duncan.
Yes, the Jazz win titles.
Right.
But yes, Duncan or Robinson wasn't going to win those titles without his other superstar.
No, the funny thing about all of Karl's playoff struggles is that he would look at some elite players and think, I own you. And he would literally own them. He wouldn't beat them or edge them. He would dominate them. David Robinson, Shaquille O'Neal. You look up his playoff records both for series and games and what he scored in those games, and oh my gosh, he saw them coming. He knew he was going to win. But when he saw Hakeem and MJ coming, yeah, it's crazy.
So let's talk about a hypothetical Jazz trade to get Giannis. Right. Lowry has to be the centerpiece. What's the number?
For money.
Let's talk about players. Who's the number 2 player you're willing to put in this trade? Who's the second highest ranked player in your opinion that you're willing to part with to get Giannis back? And who's the player
you're talking
you're
to someone who isn't willing
line?
to do it, so this is a struggle.
Okay.
So Kessler's hard to replace. There aren't many like him, and I really value rim protection. I don't want to do it.
Okay.
I think Ace Bailey has a massive amount of upside. We don't have the access that they have. And they don't have enough access because nobody knows the future. But they have more access and have a better ability to estimate his future. I'd be very reluctant to part with him. In a weird way, even though I don't want to make this deal, but if you're twisting my arm, and if they really need a second very good player, it almost has to be Keontae, which is a reason not to do this. Another reason not to do this. But Keontae, at his size, and he's scoring big time, but there are other guys his size who score big time.
Yeah.
Now, there maybe aren't a lot. That's a reason not to do the deal.
Right.
But I'm super reluctant to give up on Ace. And maybe I'm a prisoner of the moment and the hype, but it really feels like they might really have something. They might have. I mean, he gets 20 points as a rookie, and it looks effortless, and nobody talks about it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that he scores 20. Not because they're
Nobody.
meaningless, but because it comes so casually.
Does it come casually? Because now, if it came casually in the Warriors game, I would just tell you, well, that looked like a preseason game anyway. I didn't think anybody was into that. Everybody knew it was going to win, and nobody seemed to really put much energy into it. But there have been other nights he's had 20 where the game's been more competitive, and his 20 still looks easy. And it makes me think that he is nowhere near his ceiling. And if you're at 20 and you're nowhere near your ceiling, and you got that size and that level of athletic ability, they might really have a win. I mean, this has been a tough stretch, and there's a lot of angry Jazz fans. But if Ace Bailey gets to this imaginary ceiling that I'm constructing for him, maybe it was worth it.
I don't think Keontae's going in the deal.
I agree.
End of story. I think you're getting Lowry, you're not getting Keontae, and that's the line the Jazz draw.
So the reason to reverse what I just said is it'd be really interesting to know how hostile the Kessler negotiations are. Now, he's restricted, and they can match him. But this is an owner, and to a certain degree, I mean, Austin wasn't here, and yet he talked so much basketball with Danny, and Danny didn't do it, but he broke it up. Like, Gobert was paid a ton of money. And I get it. He had a big impact on games. And I get that he was very popular with the fan base. And some people can set that aside a little, and some people can set it aside a lot. But I'm just convinced that guy got 15 or 20 million more than he should have on a championship roster construction. He didn't help you enough at the offensive end of the court. He didn't leave you with enough money to go get another elite player that you had to have. Are they going to repeat that mistake with Kessler?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And I think, honestly, I don't think Ryan Smith tells the Angels what to do. He wants to know what's going on, but I don't think he's the kind of owner who butts in.
Almost positive.
But Ryan knows not to do that. And he doesn't have to butt in because Danny and Austin know not to do that. But if it's going to be that hard, and if he's going to be as cranky as Gordon Hayward is, maybe you should just trade him and get something for him because it's not going to be a good long-term relationship.
I could see a hypothetical where the conversation with Milwaukee starts with Lowry, and then you get onto the next step, which is like, okay, next year's Lakers pick. Great. And then whatever, you could even do probably the second best, but maybe even the best of whatever your future
Is that Laker
Cavaliers
pick got like 15 written all over it?
It's top 4 protected, and the Lakers could be a disaster next year. Lakers might be in the lottery this year, honestly. And they're going to lose LeBron, and they're going to retool, and maybe just having Luka and wide open space will make them good. But the West is deep. You can have if Luka has
if one of their top two have an injury.
Luka falls off the court again and rolls his ankle and misses 35 games, the Lakers should be in the lottery next year. So that's an interesting pick at the very least. Okay. So you've got Lowry, Lakers pick next year, probably, and then this is actually, I think, where the conversation starts. Because you're also throwing in whatever remaining either Cavaliers or Timberwolves trade you have or draft pick you have. Where I think this hypothetically could get interesting is I wouldn't be surprised if the conversation comes down to, do you want Walker and this 2031 unprotected Phoenix Suns pick, or do you want just Ace Bailey? And we keep Walker and we keep that pick.
Keep Walker, Keontae in the pick.
And Walker.
Markkanen and Ace.
And then the Jazz have Walker Kessler, Keontae George, Giannis, a future 2031 unprotected pick. Their own pick. The Jazz have their own pick this year still. And that's where you go to Giannis and say, we think we can trade Walker, the 2031 pick, and this year's lottery pick to build a roster with you and Keontae George.
Are you familiar, and maybe these are old rules and are out of the books now, but for a long time there were rules in the NBA. You don't trade a young guy to get an old guy. And you don't trade a small guy. Excuse me, you don't trade a big guy to get a small guy.
Yeah.
Do you feel like violating those rules? Or at least one of them, a young guy to get an old guy.
Walker, I'm not that worried about Walker, replacing Walker. And Ace a little bit, I guess, but I mean, what are the odds Ace ever becomes Giannis? 1%? Yeah. You know what I mean, 0%?
What are the odds Giannis stays Giannis?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to start declining. He is. Giannis would come in, though, and have an argument to be the greatest player that's ever put on a Jazz uniform. Better than Karl. Giannis at his prime is a better player than Karl Malone was.
But do you feel like Giannis is in his prime? There are 31-year-old players. Steph Curry got to 31. He was still in his prime, as the championship showed.
The league is players are lasting longer in the league than they ever have before. No question about it.
But the guys who aren't lasting now are the big guys who are really athletic. because their bodies are breaking down under the force.
Yeah. Giannis has Achilles written all over him, unfortunately. It's the modern injury for
And it's
whatever
why
reason.
I'm doing this because it's a good podcast.
He's got all these calf strains.
Yeah, but I'm doing this as a podcast, but at the very start, Giannis being 31 and having all those calf injuries makes me say, don't do it. Before we get to anything else about all these players and all these picks on the Jazz.
Again, I think it's highly unlikely the Jazz would make this trade or would be able to make this trade. I honestly think if they could get in the conversation, they would pull the trigger. It's just what they've been waiting for. They've kept their powder dry for this reason.
Yeah.
And look, Justin Zanuck said this to the media flat out. We don't have the assets to make one superstar trade. We have the assets to make two.
Yes, I remember that.
Now, this was in 2022, right after they traded Rudy and Donovan. But they've done nothing but acquire more assets since then, and they've spent some of them. You know, they've drafted Cody, they've drafted Taylor, they've drafted Bryce.
They probably didn't have the Laker pick when he
But they didn't have the
that.
Laker pick, and they didn't have the Suns pick.
Right. And the Suns pick, that was good. Moving off the third of the 3 picks that they had stacked up in 25, 7, and 9 to get a shot at an unprotected pick in 31 and roll the dice seems like
Plus, they have all their own
worth it.
picks. I mean, the Jazz could throw their own picks in here still. They could really get in the conversation if they wanted to. And Danny Ainge loved getting stars. I'm sure Austin Ainge grew up in that household recognizing the same value there.
Well, you don't go very far in the NBA without him.
No, you can't. You can't win without him.
But man, to load up all those assets and then watch an Achilles go 6 months later.
It's the risk. But these guys don't come available ever. And one of them's available right now, and you have to pounce when it does. All right. That's the show. Chandler and I will be back on Monday. Maybe the Jazz have Giannis in uniform. We'll see. Maybe he's somewhere else. I think he's not getting traded till the offseason.
I think that's more
pour
likely.
Water on it, just because the number of assets increases so dramatically.
And they have to make a move to get him.
Correct. And the pool of teams that can acquire him skyrockets. Give Giannis a little bit of time to hang out and figure it out. All right. Read us at KSLSports.com. We'll be back with you on Monday. It's the Jazz Notes Podcast.